My dear people of Amazonia, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement, accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro. This day is Monday, and today is the 6th of January 2025. Accept liberation greetings from me. And once more, I'd like to say Happy New Year to all and sundry. Of course, we are at the start of a very challenging year, a year that's going to be so interesting to watch, especially regarding our liberation movement. And so I want to thank all and sundry for taking time to be part of this broadcast today. So if you're just joining this live show, please do well to share the link as much as you can. So we reach out to as many people as possible to share this conversation. My dear people of Amazonia, I actually intended to be out here yesterday. That was Sunday, January 5, 2025, because yesterday marked a key anniversary. It was on January 5, 2018, that the government of Nigeria, under the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, in working with the government of La République du Cameroun and at the behest of Emmanuel Macron of France, the leadership of our liberation movement was captured in at Nera Hotel in Abuja, and there were 10 of them. At the end of the day, they were so maltreated and then shipped to Yaoundé against international law, in total violation of the international law of non-refoulement. And a lot of efforts have been made right up to this day, both by the people of the Southern Cameroons and members of the international community, including even at the United Nations, to ensure their release in respect of international law, but that hasn't happened just yet. On the contrary, they are all serving a life sentence in the dungeons of La République du Cameroun at Kodengi. We are going to have a much succinct conversation about the fate of our prisoners of war right ahead in this conversation. Before I get into the beef of our show today, I'd like to share this thought. Everything I was afraid of already happened to me, so I fear nothing. Again, I take this thought. Everything I was afraid of already happened to me, so I fear nothing. My dear people of Amazonia, we have been in this war now getting to 8 years. This means we have seen all kinds of things. We have seen all kinds of people. We have encountered all kinds of challenges and have been able to overcome them. We have worked with people that we knew were part and parcel of our liberation movement, but at the end of the day, we noticed that they were simply planted agents. We have operated with people that we thought were part and parcel of this liberation movement, but in the end, we realized that they were just in for personal interest and were in simply to guarantee some kind of interest. And as soon as they got this interest, they not only pulled out, but they turned against the same liberation movement. We have also seen people who came in thinking that it was going to be a quick fix, and they were already buying their positions, or they were so certain that they will pick this or that position when we get La République du Cameroun out of our territory. That category too have shifted behind and have gone silent. We had a lot of talking heads on social media coming out every day, sensitizing the people, informing people about the liberation movement, educating our self-defense volunteers when they just got into the show. And today, a good lot of those talking heads have disappeared. My dear people of Amazonia, this is not uncommon with liberation movements. It happens all the time. But one thing is certain: what generally happens at the end of the day is a good lot of liberation movements like ours that face this kind of challenges always still end up succeeding. People end up attaining the objective that was set forth. In our case, our objective is to secure a free, democratic, prosperous, and independent Ambazonia, southern Cameroons. So, my people, we will maintain our focus, whatever those challenges. In and talking about challenges, we have not only had many, we still have quite some ahead of us, and we will face them squarely as the days go by. At the start of the year, I want to take this opportunity to make clear that although on these shows I talk in my personal capacity, I come here like someone who really desires to continue sharing information and participating in the education campaign of our people. I also want to state that there are moments where I should be able to say certain things in my capacity as the president of the consortium that I head. I like to say here that as president of the consortium and in working with the members of this organization, we have been doing a lot of work on ground zero, trying to build very good bonds between the civilian population and our self-defense volunteers, or call them our self-defense forces or freedom fighters. In too many places where the relationship was already so sour, today the people are operating in tandem, and our brave hearts are understanding more and more that the civilian population, the local population, are and will ever remain their first line of defense. In a lot of localities now, our people no longer run away when they see our self-defense volunteers. They go towards them because our self-defense fighters have come to understand that the most important thing is to cooperate, collaborate, and work with the people, because this fight is about the people, not about us as individuals. We are going to continue in that light. And I really want also to take this opportunity to say, with respect to our refugees, especially those on ground one and some on ground two, a lot of efforts have been put in place by other organizations to help, mainly to provide food and sometimes to provide little assistance for medical care. Among this, really, I want to highlight and congratulate and praise our comrade Pauline Menjo, that's aka Mama Amber, for the commendable job she has been doing, especially on ground one. Training, not just providing food for some photo ops and all of those, but training the young girls and sometimes the young boys in trades, in some kind of trades that will help them be able to rely on themselves before long. We are going to join hands in some of those kind of efforts to make sure that we continue to empower our people. So people who were so strong yesterday, who were independent yesterday, who were self-reliant, taking care of themselves, don't suddenly become permanent beggars, permanent mendicants who can be used, manipulated in any way, and dumped at any time, both by La République du Cameroun and predators within our liberation movement. And so this year, 2025, should be a year that as a people, we try to pay attention to what defines us, Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, as a people. It is our community way of life. It is a general belief that we are each other's keeper. It is a general belief that we will never go to sleep in total joy and happiness when our neighbors are hungry, when our neighbors are unable to get what to eat. I want to salute the spirit of solidarity that has reigned generally, especially among the medical corps, who sometimes have even faced death just because they decided to stick their necks out there to provide care when it is needed and where it is even most dangerous to give. I really want to take this opportunity to say, as we are beginning a new year, 2025, let's pay attention to the vulnerable castes in our community. You will recall that we have prisoners of war, not only in La République du Cameroun, we have two right here in the United States of America, and we now have Comrade Cho Ayaba in jail in Norway. Let's bear in mind that it is important for us to continue to push the Ubuntu spirit, that spirit of we are all together, though different, from different villages, communities, and all whatnot. But first and foremost, we are Southern Cameroonians, so we are one. And it is that spirit of all for one for all. The Ubuntu spirit is the spirit that's going to take us ahead. We have faced challenges. We continue to face them. Some that sometimes even frighten some in our midst to think, is it going to be possible for us to really get through in this manner? But trust me, we will get there. Boys are continually being selected from men. As every day is passing, those changes are happening, and we will get there. I want to assure you, my people, we must work very hard to make sure we are carrying along the most vulnerable castes in our community. That is how we are going to be able to overcome the challenge before us. Now, to get into the vivo of our conversation, I want us first of all to make a quick stop by our noisy neighbors in La République du Cameroun. And I say so because we are going to talk a lot about La République du Cameroun this year as they unravel. We have done a great job, very great job, helping them to unravel, pushing them to unravel. They are there, and we have to continue this job with so much ferocity. Again, I'm definitely going to take an opportunity to call into SCAF and talk with the people at SCAF and try to remind them that if they had taken the backseat for a little bit, because CAF is the activist group, to tell them it's time to come back to the air. It's time to hit the social media once more. It's time to get up now and remind our people that the ultimate moment we have been waiting for, that opportunity we have been seeking, is close. And so we definitely have to get there. But as I was saying, the last time I was here, I addressed our self-defense volunteers, our brave hearts, those gentlemen and women who are offering their lives so that we should have a free and independent Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia. I was talking to them about how to operate with men and women of God. I'm glad that the feedback I've had from a good lot of them has been really positive, that we are understanding this, because we must bear in mind, sometimes people make mistakes. But one thing that is permanent and important is that whenever you make a mistake, don't stay there. You can repent. If you fall, nothing bad in falling. Make a mistake, nothing bad in making a mistake. But where it gets bad is if you persist. If you stay there, you fall, you get up. You fall down, you get up. So, as you can see on the other side, in La République du Cameroun, in our noisy neighbor's house, church leaders too, who for too many years have been whining and dining with the genocidal regime of Mr. Paul Biya, are now getting to a brand new day. Take a look at this. What you are seeing there is the Reverend Father of a locality known as that Reverend Father. His name is Albert Legrand. He's the parish priest of the Saint Matthias Parish in Photo. You see what he's saying about Paul Biya? He says there that the people of La République du Cameroun, as they prepare for elections, they should know that even in a game of football, it gets to a point where you have to change the players. This is exactly what Mr. Paul Biya and his cohorts don't want to hear. This is exactly what the members of government in La République du Cameroun, people like Atangaji and others, this is exactly what they don't want to hear. You saw that in the face of this new challenge, the one of the ministers, minister delegate in La République du Cameroun, Jean de Dieu Momo, a minister delegate at the Ministry of at the Ministry of Justice, has got up to say, look, I want to tell you that the church should just stay neutral. The church should just get out of everything. The church should focus on preaching peace and all of those things, and then even threatens. But even as he was saying that, because he published a whole article addressed to the bishops, even as he was saying that, they were busy acting. They were busy out there continuing the new crusade that they had started. While he was focusing his ire on the ones in the northern regions of La République du Cameroun, this Reverend Father of Photo said, pensons à l'alternance, which means think about power alteration. Il sait, à un moment donné, il faut laisser la place à quelqu'un d'autre. There comes a time when you must cede your place to someone else, when you must understand that someone else too can have ideas, sometimes even better than yours. Il sait, vous ne jouez pas souvent au football. Je pense qu'à plusieurs reprises, on a changé des joueurs, non? Yeah, he says, if you don't play football, several times I've changed players in the field of play, even the best players. That's why it says Kylian Mbappé, quand il est fatigué, on le remplace, non? So you hear that. And when he says that, he calls Kylian Mbappé, of course, considered one of the best players in the world at this point in time. He says, but even Kylian Mbappé, the moment he's tired, and they take him off the pitch. So you see, these are the kinds of messages. These are the kinds of things Paul Biya in La République du Cameroun does not want to hear. And these are the kind of things that reassure us that we are getting closer to that place where we had expected them to be. And this is very important. And now, while he was talking, he was just taking the cue from another one. This time, was the bishop of Yagua. And the bishop of Yagua, that is Monseigneur Yauda Urgo. Yauda Urgo did not mince his words. He didn't go through 5 channels or 6 channels or whatever to say what he wanted to say. Yauda Urgo simply stood up. That's just a picture, but let me bring him to you. Simply stood up in church, right in church, when he finished his preaching and made clear, triumphantly clear, that the way the things are going in that country, whatever has to happen this year. And that's why he said, if the worst were to come to the worst, let a devil, did you hear that? This is a bishop. He said, let the devil, first of all, take over power, and they will now find time and opportunity to wrestle with that devil. Because what they have in place now is worse than a devil. I recall there was a time when I was at the CRTV national station in Yaoundé that I did an article in which I said that some people were going too far as to describing Mr. Paul Biya as the devil's incarnate. I recall so well how when that news item ended, Josh Kilong walked over to me and told me, "You must know you're in trouble, right? So take measures," because he said this was a bit strong. But while we all agreed that it was just the truth, because that's exactly what was being said at the event where we went. He said, but why this was true? Well, you know how it's going to be. Of course, it didn't take long. I received the usual punishment, but trust me, it has taken time. The time it has taken for even the church to come to that realization that Mr. Paul Biya is worse than the devil then. And if they say something is worse than the devil, it means even the devil himself gets up and says, no, this is too wicked. Just take a listen.
Bleu peut prendre le Cameroun. On ne va pas souffrir plus que ça encore. On a déjà souffert. Le pire ne viendra pas. Même le diable, qu'il prenne d'abord le pouvoir au Cameroun et on verra après. Amen.
Amen.
You got the reaction of the Christians. They cheered. The Christians cheered. That was approval. You see, he said, what has already happened right now in that triangle, there is nothing worse than that will ever happen. Now you want to get the interpretation. What he's saying is anything that can happen to me right now will not be worse than what has already happened to others. So at this point, he is saying that salt and sugar will taste the same on a dying tongue. Therefore, La République du Cameroun, as I've told our people constantly, is worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. And so for my people of Ambazonia, those of you constantly fighting so hard to continue to get yourself unevenly yoked with such an entity, I'm glad you are hearing it now. Not just from ordinary citizens of that country, but you are hearing it now, even from the mouths, from the lips of prelates, not just any kind of prelates, at the highest level in that country, acknowledging that La République du Cameroun is hell on earth. And to prove his point, why he says, let the devil himself better take over power in that country first, and they will wrestle with him later. Because that one that is dead now is worse than the devil in person. If you didn't hear well, let us have fun again. It's very important.
Bleu peut prendre le Cameroun. On ne va pas souffrir plus que ça encore. On a déjà souffert. Le pire ne viendra pas. Même le diable qu'il prenne d'abord le pouvoir au Cameroun et on verra après. Amen.
Amen.
So you see, he said this right in church. He still have all his garments and everything on him. No, he didn't say this on the streets. He wasn't in a bar drinking, then he lost his senses and started saying so. No, he said it right on the pulpit, right on the altar. He said, let the devil first of all take over in Cameroon. My people of Ambazonia, I suppose this will open the eyes. To open the eyes of those who have continued to be very blind to that reality, that what we have been facing, that the enemy we have been up against is the devil himself, the devil incarnate. I said this several times. Some wouldn't pay attention. You see, the division and the so-called infighting and everything that you see in our midst is a direct result of the activities of such an evil regime. Because for those of you who have still stood sometimes say, oh, federalism or this and that or devolution or whatever other nonsense, you just don't get it. Because if you're operating with a system that cares about the people, there will be a time they will stop and wait and listen. For 8 years that this war has been raging on, Mr. Paul Biya of La République du Cameroun has never ever stepped his feet on southern Cameroon's territory. Not once. Not once. Yet, some of you stand and say that Paul Biya is the best thing that ever happened to you. Some of you stand and say, oh, one and indivisible. I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't want to get into that part of it now. But what I need each and every southern Cameroonian to understand is that we have been living and operating with people who have no idea what it means to develop a society, who have no idea what it means to stand up for one another, who have no idea what it means to stand up for what you believe in, who have no idea what it means to promote virtue over vice, who have no idea what it means to be your brother's keeper. No, it is not just Biya. It is not just the government of that country. It's even the people of that country. Because in every country in the world, the press is considered so important, the fourth estate. I recall a US president who said if he were even given to him to choose between having a government without newspapers or newspapers without a government, he will not hesitate a second to choose the latter. That is to go for newspapers without a government. But in La République du Cameroun, just as you see them do with some, take advantage of the vulnerable minds in our liberation movement, what they have done, they have taken down every sector to the point where the people themselves don't even have an idea what they want for themselves. That's when the church rises. Because before Monseigneur Yaoda Urko and this Reverend Father Albert Legrand was Monseigneur Cléda, the Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Douala, that comprises makes up Douala and Bafoussam, because Bafoussam is under the Douala Ecclesiastical Province. You find that this Archbishop has stood up and said that Mr. Paul Biya seeking another mandate is totally ill-advised, completely, and called for a break with the past. Before him, we had listened to Alinkom, who said, don't even bother yourself because elections you are killing yourself. Elections, the results of the elections that will take place in November have already been fine-tuned and elected and they are complete. The society is closed up and is finished. But in the midst of all this, you are expecting that the press will come up to say, this is time for change. Hell no. The Jacques Famin don't go press. And I think upon you, this is rather what they have done. On the contrary, the newspapers that appeared in La République du Cameroun this Monday are all attacking the church. This is what they have done. You notice at some points in our liberation movement, you have all the newspapers come up. That's how they were coming with the same chorus. So, oh, the president of Norway, you are keeping terrorists in your country, and all of those things. All of them will be like chorus. They call it chorus. Oh, the president of the United States of America, you are keeping terrorists in your country. They come up. That is how, just as lost as they are, you now see them come today. Say, ces évêques invoquent Satan à diriger le Cameroun. But of course, and you see, look at the pictures. You see what they do? They put Paul Biya up there with the Pope, big, and then put the 3 bishops who have spoken this far. Of course, they happen to be all from the 3 northern regions of La République du Cameroun. Just like to say, this Paul Biya like this, you see, he's saying he's close to the Pope, he's so holy, and then these ones are calling Satan and all of those things, but they don't get into the core of the issue. That's not what our community is. In a free, independent, and democratic Southern Cameroons, we will be putting the interest of the people first and not the interest of the demagogues. We will create a society where the press will play its role effectively as the fourth estate, holding the government or the powers that be to account. Don't think that that was the only paper. Like I said, it was a plaque. Look at this one. Les prêtres réclament le gombo et les prados neufs à Paul Biya. So these papers are saying that in the past, what these papers are saying, they are taking the church to task. Because in the past, of course, and we've got the stories very clearly, the presidency of the republic makes sure that every bishop at the start of every year had at least 50 million, 25 million, sometimes brand new cars and all of those, SUVs, to make them constantly support a sanguineous genocidal system. This time, when the church gets up, they interpret to say they are simply trying to raise the bargains, that they are trying to up the ante, that because they have come out to talk like this, they want the system to go out there and give them more money and more cars. You know why they say so? Because that is how they have been made to think in that republic. Anytime anyone comes up to protest or anything, they're imagining that the government will come to negotiate and will come with bags of money or with positions to propose. Join us in the chopping arrangement. That's what it's generally been. And that's how some people got too into this liberation movement, hoping that it was going to be a quick fix, like people in Cameroon will come so quickly to come and negotiate, and they will come with money backs, and a lot of them will tap a lot of money, and even end up with positions where they will become part of the system, making a lot of money. And those kind of people fought tooth and nail to be in positions where they are able to meet face to face with agents of La République du Cameroun or government officials of La République du Cameroun themselves, so they could make their bargains by themselves. While some have become so disillusioned and left, others are still there, still fighting tooth and nail to raise their heads out of the waters so they can better position themselves to bargain with La République du Cameroun and get what they want. Not in our interest. But my people, we have been dealing with this, and we will continue to deal with that. You see the net difference between us and the people of La République du Cameroun. In our situation, when the people rise to protest, they have genuine demands that they need to be met. They are not protesting because they want to take advantage of the sufferings of the people to position themselves to tap benefits from an evil system. That was not the last paper that talked about it. There was yet another one. Said, opposant à Biya, opposant au peuple et à Dieu. Can you imagine that? They say because they oppose Pope, and of course you see this ones too, they put the Pope and Pope on one side, bunch those three bishops of the three of the from the three northern regions in one corner and say because they are opposing Biya, they are opposing the people and they are opposing God. So raising your fingers against Biya, raising your fingers against the people, because as Biya himself said in his speech, he's so popular, so much so that the people are supporting him so much so that he can't even think of going. Because if he goes, he'll be disappointing the people he has to stay. But because these people stand up against an evil system, of course, the people say they're against God. And listen, the intention of this is simply to break the morale of these bishops. Do you think this is the last that you are seeing? No, it's going to be intensified because 90% of the French language papers in that country were created and sponsored by Jacques Fameux Ndongo, who is Minister of Higher Education in La République du Cameroun. At that time, he was chargé de mission at the presidency of the Republic and he was in charge of the communications unit at the civil cabinet of the presidency of the Republic. They created all of those papers to do what? To water down the credible press and to see how to continually give the impression that they were publishing facts, but they were simply watering down anything that could lead towards bringing adequate change. Those papers have therefore remained to serve this kind of purposes all the time. That's why you notice that the citizens of La République du Cameroun, through their press, never showed solidarity with the people of the southern Cameroon when we stood up to say ab initio that we wanted change. Let's go back to the federal system of 1961 at the time. That was in late 2016 and early 2017. And all those papers wrote was the B would, what did they say? Dératiser, all the kinds of things that they said. Ils vont se calmer, they will do this, even Lille, up, down, and everything. That is how the citizens of La République du Cameroun have operated. Unfortunately for them, we are not like them. This is why we must do everything to get them out of our land. We are not like them. We generally know what we want. We have an idea where we are getting to. We know absolutely how we want to get there. And we are convinced we have the necessary resources, the mental, the morale, the determination, and the resiliency to get there. And we will continue to do just that. So, look, in other spheres, you have heard men of God stand up to say it as it is. And I'm taking this opportunity to urge the men and women of God in the southern Cameroons, wake up from your slumber, stand with your people. Your counterparts in La République du Cameroun are getting up from sleep and are beginning to realize that they have been so far away from the same people they have been preaching to all the time and who are looking up to them for spiritual direction. Because we hear them talk about, ils réclament le gombo, ils réclament le prado. We saw that when the Archbishop of Bamenda, or when Bishop Andrew Nkia was appointed Archbishop of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province, that covers, the entire southern Cameroons, Achanga Ponji, I think it was on behalf of the government, offered a brand new Prado. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw images like those to the Archbishop. Since then, the perception of the Archbishop from the general public has been one of him compromising with the government. It's true that sometimes you say no, perhaps they're just saying, but the imagery of it. That is why when I look at the action of the Catholic Church in Kenya, that rejected $40,000 from the hands of the President of the Republic, Ruto. I said that was a noble act, because you don't just give room for them to think that anytime you raise your voice to talk for the people who depend on you, who are looking up to you for spiritual direction, they can close your mouth with money. This is something our prelates need to learn. This is something our clergy need to learn from. Because judge the people right or wrong. The simple fact that they saw these bloodthirsty demagogues offer a brand new Prado to their archbishop, stand there for photo ops, and all of those things will give the clear impression of complicity, whether the archbishop ends up being complicit or not. Every single statement by that archbishop will now be scrutinized under that lens, under that prism. This is exactly what it is. And I'm hoping, therefore, that this renaissance among the clergy in La République du Cameroun contaminates the clergy in the southern Cameroons, that they understand the need to rise up and talk for their people and mobilize their people to fight for the change they need, to fight for the freedom we seek, to fight to send out colonial La République du Cameroun out of our land. We have seen clergymen in Biafra stand up and say it as it is. Is it something so difficult to do? I guess our men of God, men and women of God too, can do that. If you're doubting, let's go all the way to Côte d'Ivoire and hear another man of God. Listen to him.
Nous allons maintenant suivre l'intervention de son éminence Jean-Pierre Cardinal Coutois, archevêque émérite d'Abidjan.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, représentant le président de la République, Excellences, autorités distinguées, chers prêtres, religieux et religieuses, chers frères et sœurs dans le Christ, il faut savoir partir.
Did you hear that? This is Cardinal Jean-Pierre, is it Pitois? Yeah, getting that name right. Yeah, Jean-Pierre Cardinal Pitois. That's the Cardinal Emeritus of, that is the Archbishop Emeritus of Abidjan in Côte d'Ivoire. He is talking here in a session where the Prime Minister of Côte d'Ivoire is seated and representing the President of Côte d'Ivoire. You hear what he says? He is talking to him. The entire government is there. He is talking in his face and he is telling them, learn how to go. Learn how to let go. Il faut savoir partir. He is looking at that Prime Minister, eyeball to eyeball, and he's telling him, this is the kind of courage that I expect of our men and women of God in the southern Cameroons, in Ambazonia. Let's listen again.
Quelqu'un a dit un jour ceci, que je cite. Si les bourgeons ne partaient pas, si la saison des pluies boudait la saison sèche, il n'y aurait ni fruits
ni feuillage. Jésus lui-même a cru bon de dire, il vous est utile que je m'en aille.
You hear that? Because he says, if the rainy season or if the dry season resists the rainy season, because one season will give up to the other. If the dry season resists the rainy season, of course you neither have fruits nor green leaves, nor the greenery that you see. And then he reminds that even Jesus Christ himself said to his apostles, it is important that I go in our interest, in your interest. And that's what we say the Lord has come to prepare us a place. You see. So there is a season for everything. We have the season where we are malleable and allow some colonial administration lord it over us in the name of living together. But there's a season where we say enough is enough. La République du Cameroun should have known this earlier, that there is a time where you plunder, torture a people as much as you wish and collect everything you can collect. But there is a time that comes that you must go, even in your own interest. And I'm telling the people of La République du Cameroun, telling the colonial administration of La République du Cameroun, it is your interest, in your interest, that you leave our territory. Why Pitois? Why Jean Cardinal? Why Jean-Pierre Cardinal could be talking there to Alassane Ouattara and to people like Paul Biya? That same message, like I'm saying, I'm extrapolating even to the colonial administration of La République du Cameroun in our land. And that message will address itself even to us involved in this liberation movement. Let's play him off.
En effet, lorsque l'on a épuisé son utilité, la joyeuse acceptation de son inutilité est un service grandiose, car les éternels permanents finissent toujours par agacer et l'amour se transforme en haine.
You see, you have to go. You cannot eternalize yourself there. You cannot stay there forever, because when you stay there too long, you end up turning love that people had for you into hatred. There is an African proverb. Of course, I hear more in Mogamo and even in Metalan, things across Momo. They say, if I say the daddy understand, Gabo Metanu Zebe repeat. The Meta people say, Abo Metanye Zebe repeat. That if your pants taste too much when you go to clean up after you've used the loose, what are you going to do? Your hand will return with excrement if it stays there too long. So the people of La République du Cameroun, who have taken us for granted for so long, your time is up. Those so-called elite of the CPDM crime syndicate, who are continuing to do everything within their powers to perpetuate the evil reign of Mr. Paul Biya's genocidal regime in our land. This message is for you. The Fortabetandos, the Fru Jonathan Medjings, the John Gutes, the Atangana Ponjis, the Peter Mafani Musonges, the Fukalistus Gentries, all of you, this message is for you. Your future is behind you. Now what are you trying to do? You are struggling to destroy the future of the younger generation, which is still before us. This is a sound message. Make hay while the sun shines. As you can see for yourselves, The meteorological readings over la République du Cameroun are signally generally code red in 2025. Where will you be? Where will you stand? Because while they will vomit you out in la République du Cameroun, you don't have a place to go. You can't even step your foot and stay in peace in the southern Cameroons today. There is still time. There is still a window of opportunity to bond with your people. Let's finish up with Jean-Pierre Cardinal Petrol.
Il faut donc savoir partir. Partir à l'image des saisons qui se succèdent. Partir pour faire la place à un autre, plus vigoureux, plus jeune, certes, mais pas moins dépourvu de qualité, qui ne demande qu'à être mise au service de tous.
Anyway, we will let him go, but he's just reiterating, learn how to live. This is the message that has been sung over and over and over to the people of La République du Cameroun in the southern Cameroons. They won't hear. Over and over and over to Mr. Paul Biya's talks, the bees, the soldiers, what you call the infantry, the police, the gendarmes, the JPing, the JPIC, the all. They won't hear. While Paul Biya came on the 31st of December 2024 to make claims about how the dream of the people of the southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, for freedom has failed, the very next day, or 2 days after, on the 3rd of January, you look at these folks that you see on the screen. They are gone. There were 5 of them. They were vaporized in Manu. My people of Ambazonia, it's hurting. It's painful. But the thing is, it is important for people to learn how to go. Il faut apprendre à partir. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated by some non-Nigerian diaper-wearing genocidaire to go and die for nothing. And you know what is more painful? What is more painful is that among those 5, that were ambushed and killed very brutally in Akwaya in Manu County was a son of Com in Ambazonia. Painful, because he is dying in the hands of his own brothers. The same brothers he was going to kill to please an enemy. An enemy who has frustrated life for his people. An enemy who has killed thousands of his people. An enemy who has raped the entire land and stagnated its development. An enemy who continues to rape his sisters, his daughters, his mothers. He's an enemy that has been looting our territory for decades. He was ready to die for the enemy. That's the example of what you call a stupid death. It's painful, but I must say it. You are a Southern Cameroonian. You are an Ambazonian serving the military of La République du Cameroun. You are wasting your life. Because at the end of the day, you'll be honored nowhere. That brother will be honored neither in Com nor in La République du Cameroun. For La République du Cameroun, he was simply a glorified slave. For the people of Ambazonia, he was simply a traitor. Look at what it turns to. You put yourself in something called double jeopardy. Choose wisely. Fight on the right side of history. Let's take a short break.
Yeah, the 1st of October 2024 in Boyo. You can see the soldiers celebrating. Yeah, these are the soldiers of Goyo under the command of the Commander and his soldiers and his generals. These are the dogs of Ambazone.
That was actually in Com. We were seeing our self-defense volunteers on one of our Independence Days, celebrating and dancing with the people. Thank you so much for giving us that little break. I like to say this, folks. People never want to be part of the process, but they want to be part of the outcome. The process is where you figure out who's worth being part of the outcome. Why am I sharing this? Because there are a lot of people who are sleeping in their houses, enjoying themselves. When they get up in the morning, first thing they rush to social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, to find out what has happened to the talks of the Republic of Cameroon in our land in Amazonia, but they don't want to sacrifice a dime. They don't want to do anything to support our liberation movement. They rush quickly to see is the Monday Ghost Town still being respected, but they don't want to sacrifice a dime. They don't want to assist our people who, by their determination and resiliency, continue to respect the Monday Ghost Towns. They want to see quickly who has fallen where, but they don't want to spend a dime to assist our prisoners of war who are suffering in the various dungeons of La République du Cameroun. Today, we are celebrating Comrade Sisiku Julius Ayuk Tabe, celebrating Pa Wilfred Tassan, celebrating Shuvai Bless Servizem, Che Fidelis, Pamfor Ngalamfor. In fact, you can see all of them there. I don't even need to go calling all of them. You have Dr. Wasum, Barrister Eyambe, all of them. They are all there before you on the screen. We are celebrating these people because they were not shy of being part of the process. They saw the people crying. They heard the pains. They imagined the humiliation our people were going through. And they decided that they would not be silent. My dear people of Amazonia, sometimes we have just talked about these people, the Nera 10. We have just talked about Sisiku Julius Ayuk Tabe, or the leadership of our liberation movement. We have just talked about them and brushed over, now they are prisoners of war. Sometimes we have not taken time to pay careful attention of who were these people. You look at all these people you see on my screen here, none of them was ever suffering from want. None of them was a poor person, not one of them. There is not one of them that was not in a privileged position that they could get whatever they wanted for themselves. No, none of them was a pushover. You look at them there. I will not talk about Comrade Eyambe. You people know Comrade Eyambe was a lawyer based in Kumba. He had contracts in big companies. Comrade Eyambe, he was fine. Patasang was, the president of Katu. And besides that, he was a teacher. Patasang had constructed a house, was living in his house. Patasang was not a beggar. Barrister Shufai Bless Servizem is well known. I don't need to say anything about him. Dr. Wasum, all of them here, Dr. Kimen, all of them. Now look at Sisiku Julius Ayuk Tabe. He was one of the vice presidents of the American University of Nigeria in charge of IT. He was one of the vice presidents of the American University of Nigeria. Dr. Fidelis Ndochie owned a company in Abuja where he had a workforce of over 300 people. A workforce of over 300 people. I don't want to go. All these people. Look at Pamfor Ngalamfor. Pamfor Ngalamfor, who has been timeless in this liberation movement. I must say it. Pamfor Ngalamfor's works, his write-ups, published in English language newspapers, I mean, week in, week out, prior to 2016, provided the necessary education and laid the groundwork for ground zero to be brought to the cause of our freedom. Dr. Fongalamfo might have been on retirement, but he was not a pushover. He had his children abroad, even his wife was abroad. He had children all over the place, where he could also go and sit and be enjoying his life. All of these people you see here, they sacrificed mightily. I mean, mightily. Today, they are in the dungeons of the enemy, purportedly serving life jail. How often do we rise and say, I am putting my money together to make sure these people should not go hungry? Not only that, how often have we asked ourselves, now that they are no longer active, a lot of them, their businesses must definitely have been attacked by La République du Cameroun one way or the other. How often have we bothered to say, let's check on their families wherever, or even just give calls that are suiting? How many of us, how often have we done that? We must learn that the spirit of sacrifice is what fuels a liberation movement. And when the people know that if something happens to me, if I'm not there, the rest, the people will continue to stand with me, that is enough fuel in the engine of the revolutionaries. But if they imagine that if something happens to them, we will stay behind and focus on fighting for power. We will stay behind and focus on fighting to being present at negotiation tables. We will focus on fighting to say they should even die in there so that we get goodies from the enemy. Then we are going to be discouraging even those who are still fighting, because they'll be telling themselves that the fate that is befalling these people is the same fate that awaits me. Right inside the dungeons of La République du Cameroun, I don't want to take time off to tell you what these people are still doing. I'm telling you, you have no idea just what they are still doing, even from behind the bars in the enemy's den, to make sure that this liberation movement continues to be strong. Sometimes, the little one that we have sent to them to help themselves with, they will take it. And they will still send it out there to some in the refugee camps, to some who are internally displaced and are in the bushes looking for food to eat. Yes, they have that big heart. That is why supporting them is of utmost importance. They have organizations through which they too have been trying to raise funds by all means. If you know and have any link, please don't hesitate to support them through that means. While I encourage you to support this movement and also support our efforts that we have been taking towards internally displaced people, towards our foot soldiers going from community to community on the ground, towards our refugees, and of course that want to start paying attention much closely towards these people, you can also use amberrelief2018@gmail.com to contribute either through PayPal or through Zelle. That's if you're not able to reach directly out to them. If you can, fine. If you still come through the Ambazonia Relief Fund, trust me, we will definitely get to them. But most importantly, please, we must pay attention to the challenges that these people are facing. We must pay attention to the challenges these people are facing. The challenges are enormous. They are not the only ones. Don't mind because I front them, because I'm talking here of the Nera 5 anniversary. I learned with dismay, and I was still trying to confirm with my friend Benji. I'm sure he will be shocked to hear me say with my friend Benji, because we've not been in contact for a long time, who is also there in Koningi, that he was also handed a life jail term. Maybe no one has even heard about it. He was picked up in Calabar, with the second group of our people were picked up and shipped to La République du Cameroun. There are many of them like that. There is Amabo Marcel. Marcel, our brother who has been in the New Bell prison, Very little or nothing is even being said about him. He was picked up weeks away from the time he was going to get married. Is he still together with his fiancée, or it has ended? I can't tell. But how much attention we pay to our people, to the challenges they are facing, the love we show to them when they are in difficulties, will determine just how committed and focused those who are still outside now and fighting will continue to be. It is important for us to pay attention to this. In my last outing, I said here, please call the families of those our fallen brave hearts, those heroes that you were getting up every morning to see the result of their activities on the front lines on the ground. Those General A, General B, Tiger, Bier, Ivor, Chacha, Insobu, all of them. Please, Transporter, all of them. There are many of them. I may not call all their names. But folks, bitter caller, reach out. Find out, did they have wives? If yes, did they have children? Even if they did not have wives, did they have children, recognized children, who also had dreams that their parents were, that their father or their parents were going to help them fulfill? Reach out. Sponsor the child of a fallen brave heart. Make that a point of duty this 2025. I saw comments from a lot of you out there on my last video. You approved of this, and I'm very glad with the feedback I've had. A lot of people have called me. I mean, too many people have called and sent text messages to say this is an awesome idea. Of course, this is an idea the consortium intends to push, to foster, that we should help our people. We should help our people understand that this liberation movement is about them. It's true that there will be a challenge sometimes getting to know the real children who are supposed to be beneficiaries of some of these fallen heroes. But a little effort would guide us to the right people. It's not going to be complicated to know. But this year, by all means, your $50 a month, your $100 every month would change the life of that child, be it a girl or boy, going to, university or secondary school or even primary school or even kindergarten. Your $50, your $100 every month for the one you have adopted. Your €50, your €100 every month for the one you have adopted will make a difference. And it will help to redefine this liberation movement. This is something we need to do. I know we have carried out actions like these ones, going out on the streets, screaming around the world, mobilizing the international community, calling on international bodies to intervene. Yes, the international bodies have answered. I recall the United Nations, a UN organ, the human rights organ, actually came out with a ruling calling on the government of La République du Cameroun to unconditionally release the Nera 10. But that has not come to pass. Actions like this have helped tremendously. But today they're in short supply. We need to make sure that actions like this become again an order of the day within the ranks of the people of Ambazonia, wherever you are. We need more of this kind of actions, not only for our people who are in the dungeons, but also to make our people who are on the ground to recognize that the steam is still very strong across the board. This is absolutely important. My people of Ambazonia, like I said earlier, we also have prisoners of war in the United States of America. These are people who had careers. Some of them already were established, bought their homes. Some were just 1-2 years away from retirement to earn their retirement benefits. They had multifarious advantages that they have now lost because they are in jail for our sake. In this United States of America, they have families. Some of them will have just a wife now operating as a single mother with children. Even if you will not give your dollars. How many of us called during Christmas just to rush down and say, take this little Christmas present? It was a season of sharing. We shared presents among our friends, our loved ones, our family, and everything. How many of us in the United States went to any one of them? They may have challenges. Those wives may have challenges with so many overheads. Someone or a group of people can decide to take even just one of the utilities or just anything. Sometimes, like I said, even just a call, a cordial visit will be very reassuring and heartwarming. How many of us have done that? How many of us are doing that? Folks, this 2025 will be a very determining year in our liberation movement. We must get up from slumber and be more supportive. We must get up from slumber and show those who face challenges along the line that we will never leave anybody behind. We must do that. That phone call, that visit will be extremely helpful. Same thing with Comrade Cho Ayaba, who's in Norway, in the dungeons. Like I said before, we must recognize that anything can happen to any of us at any time in this liberation movement. Therefore, the way we treat others when they are facing challenges could determine the way we will be treated when we are faced with our own set of challenges. My dear people of Amazonia, brave warriors of our liberation movement, fellow Southern Cameroonians, let us wake up from our slumber. Let us do the needful. Support this liberation movement. Support this liberation movement by whatever means you can. If you want to make contributions, as you see on my on the code of this channel, see where it says support the struggle. Either Zelle or PayPal. Zelle if you're in the United States, PayPal if you're in the United States or anywhere out of the United States. It's the same thing. amberrelief2018@gmail.com. I want to thank all those who have continued to contribute their widow's mite every now and then to make sure we keep this liberation movement alive. We will make it. We are up to the task. We must remain determined and focused until we get to where we are going. I want to thank those of you who were part of this live broadcast, and make sure you share the link as much as possible so that those who were not able to join this broadcast live should have the opportunity to watch this conversation. Thank you very much. I will be back here this Tuesday, January 7th, to look at the speech by the president in our noisy neighbor's country. Just the things that concern us. I will be back here. Thank you very much. Until then, have a nice time. God is with us.